It's time to discuss buttons of Kiwi. So let me replace this label with a button. BUTTON button. And if you go to the official documentation of button, inside a button, you have this text property, this font size, and yes, you can also use markups in button as well. Now let's run it. And here we go. This is our first button. If you click on this, background has changed. And if you release your mouse button, yes, everything is fine. Okay, so this is a button. And now let's play with the size of this button. In the previous lecture, if you remember, I have used the size underscore hint property. So in layout system, you can change the size of the elements or the child elements using two different properties. One is the size underscore hint property, which take values from 0 to 1 or from 0% to 100%. And then we have another property which is called size, which take fixed amount of value. And size underscore hint has higher priority than size, and by default size underscore hint is set to 1 and 100% along x-axis and 100% along y-axis. And that's why if I run this, you can see that this button is taking 100% width of the screen and 100% height of the screen. And even if I resize this, as you can see, our button is resizing. And because Kiwi is responsive first framework, that's why size underscore hint has higher priority than size. So in order to make this button fixed size, we need to change the default values of size underscore hint. We will deal with it later in this lecture, but first of all, we need to override the default value of size underscore hint. So let's close this. And instead of taking 100% width and 100% height, I want this button to take only 50% width and 50% height. So for this purpose, I just need to write here size underscore hint 0.5 along x-axis or the width, and then put comma and 0.5. So 0.5 means 50%. And now let's run it. The button size has been changed. Now it's 50% width and 50% height. And if I resize the screen, as you can see, the button is resizing itself automatically. And this feature makes this Kiwi framework responsive and suitable for Android and iOS development. Now what if I want to make the size of this button fixed? For this purpose, you need to put the x-axis and y-axis of the size underscore hint property to none and none. So let's replace this 0.5 with none and this 0.5 with none, and let's run it. And here, as you can see, now the size of this button is 100 pixel along x-axis and 100 pixel along y-axis. So let me change the size of the text. Not 32, it's going to be 16. And if you remember, in the Kiwi fundamental lectures, I have told you that all the elements or all the widgets of Kiwi uses widget class as their base class, and the default size of the widget class is 100 pixel width and 100 pixel height. That's why the width and height of our button is 100 pixels. So let's type here size and just go with 200 pixel width and 100 pixel height. Let's run it. And yes, now the height of this button is fixed. If I resize the screen, it will remain 200 pixel and 100 pixel. As you can see, it is not resizing. So sometimes we prefer a fixed size for our elements, and sometimes we want a variable size or responsive size. It depends on the scenarios, and in the layout section we are going to learn more about size underscore hint, size, and then we have position underscore hint and position, so don't worry about them. And now let's discuss the position property of buttons. Just type here pause, and again it takes x value and y value, and the coordinate system in Kiwi starts from bottom left corner. So just define here 100 pixels along x-axis, and the height is going to be 100 pixels as well. Let's run it. And yes, the position of our button has changed. With the help of this float layout, you can put this button anywhere on the screen. But if you use another layout like box layout, grid layout, then the position is not going to work. And now, what if I want this button right in the center of the screen? What will be the solution? It's very straightforward. This interface is our root, and by default this root takes the whole size of the screen. And since plot layout is also a widget, so it also has the width and height property. What if I put the position of this button according to the width and height of this root widget? Will it work? Let's try it. In order to access the properties of this root widget, we are going to use the keyword called root, because in KiwiLang this interface is represented by root, and the reason is that in KiwiLang the design is arranged in a hierarchy, and this hierarchy is starting from this interface. That's why it's the root, and then this button is a child of this root. So that's why I'm calling here this root dot width. It's going to be our x-axis, and put comma, and then root dot height. And now if I run it, it's not going to work. Let me tell you. Let's run it, and our button has gone. And the reason is that this root dot width will return the whole width of the screen from this bottom left corner to bottom right corner. And same is the case for height. The root dot height will return the height from bottom left corner to top left corner. But we don't want this total height. We want the half of this height. So we just need to divide this whole width with 2 in order to get the half width, and just divide this height with 2 as well, divided by 2. Let's run it, and yes, here is our button, but currently it's not in the center. Why? Because the coordinate system starts from bottom left corner. So as you can see, the bottom left corner of this button is right in the center of the screen. This means it's working 100% fine, but there is a bug in our formula of calculating the width and height. So if I subtract half width of this button from this value, then the center point of this button will be right in the center of this screen along x-axis. So let's try it. The width of this button is 200 pixels, so the half of 200 is going to be 100. So let's subtract 100. Let's run it, and yes, as you can see, now it is in the center along x-axis. But what about y-axis? Let's apply the same logic along y-axis. Let's subtract 50 pixels, which is half of the height of the button. Let's run it, and awesome, now this button is in the center of the screen. And I know very well that for the first time all of these properties will be confusing to you, but you know what, time is the best healer. So with the passage of time, everything will automatically make sense. Don't get frustrated in the beginning if you couldn't understand. We will continuously use these logics and these properties, and you will understand them with the passage of time. And now let's take a quick look at the button documentations. Here is the button documentation. First of all, this is the text property font size. Okay, This is called the event. We are going to discuss them later. This is called the action, which action you want to perform whenever button triggers this on press event. We are going to discuss them later. And okay, let's go to the API. Okay, so if you want to change the background color of the button, use this property, which is background, and it's going to take value in form of a tuple. Again, RGBA, red, green, blue, and A for alpha. So let's use this property. Background color, put colon, and define the values in form of a tuple. So 0, 0.5, comma 0.5, RG, and B is going to be 100% or 255. Okay, and then alpha is going to be 100%. Let's close it or run it back. And yes, the color of our button has been changed, and this is how you can change the background color. And it's enough for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.